Hello everyone, welcome back. If you don't know me, my name is Taylor and I own and create for Little Hippie Co. This is Winston. He is my partner in crime. Just kidding, he's a dog. Yes, I own and create art for Little Hippie Co., which is a business based out of Fargo, North Dakota. I crochet, make candles, create jewelry, and home decor with my many mediums that I use. So today I'm going to show you how to make your very own laser sword, aka lightsaber, from Star Wars. So this is just one that I had free-handed, and so I'm going to walk you through it, and hopefully we can create something similar, if not the same type of thing we have going on here. So inside of the lightsaber, I've used a couple different things to make sure that it is firm while also still being squishy enough to, like hit, fight, battle without actually seriously hurting anyone. So first off, I have my little plumbing copper pipe covers. So they have a little slit on the side here. I got mine from Max Hardware. That's MACS Hardware. I'm sure they have them at home improvement stores. I cut this one down. This says it's 3/8 inch thick. It fits 1/2 inch copper. I get them big. Ooh. So this is the full size, and this is a 6-foot cover. Same size, 3/8 inch thick, and I just cut it down like I said before. So that is the main component of what's going inside of it. So I cut this. This is comparable to what I have here. That's the size. So this was a little bit bigger actually than what I made the other one. I did cut it down even more because originally I was going to do 3-foot long lightsabers to make them real realistic, and that just got too much. They got floppy, they weren't as sturdy, they were just falling all over the place. It didn't look like a lightsaber, so I cut it down a little bit shorter when I made this one. So inside that, you're also going to be using polyfill. So I polyfill the bottom of the handle here, this squishy part here. So it's the cover still goes down that far, but I filled the middle part of the pipe. You can see there. Oh yeah. You fill the middle part of that pipe with the polyfill, and that really solidifies and makes it a little more sturdy. And then you use polyfill throughout to kind of fill where you feel like it's getting a little more floppy. But I also put a dowel in there as well in the pipe. So I just slide it in like this here. And that also helps with stability and making sure it doesn't just flop all over, because this is kind of like a pool noodle and they're floppy. Pool noodles are floppy, this is floppy. This is a 1/2 inch thick diameter dowel, and it's 36 inches long. However, I did cut this down too. So this is about the length of the actual colored part of the lightsaber. So this is going to be primarily polyfill, and then the dowel usually fits this part, and if it sinks down a little bit, that's okay too, because it'll just provide that extra support that it might need. So on a jib jab, there's going to be a couple different options for how you want the handle to look too. This is just like a basic one that I did. It's got the little button there, which is just a bobble stitch, and we'll go over that. But yeah, so you can press it. It's kind of fun. It sticks out a little bit, adds a little more texture. The color changes. I've stuck with the gray and the black. I'm going to do a different style of the handle during this tutorial, but I'll have a pattern for this one as well. Yeah, so let's get started. I use burlap blanket yarn, so this is what it looks like. Burlap blanket yarn. Sorry, it's a little backwards. So the gray that I use is called dark gray. And then obviously I use black, and then for this tutorial I'm going to be using green. So it literally just says green. I have a lot of different color greens. If you can't see, you can kind of see a little bit back there, but I have a lot of different color greens, and this is the only skein that seems bright enough to represent the lightsaber. And also, I've never seen a skein just called green. It's always something crazy like grass green or lime or garden green or smoky shadow green. I don't know. This one's just called green. I also use a size 8 crochet hook, and then you're also going to need a needle, a threading needle like this, a little threading needle here. And I think that is everything you need. So to go over everything, you need yarn, you need polyfill, you need foam cover, pipe cover, you need a dowel, you need a size 8 crochet hook, and you need a threading needle. And combine all those ingredients together and you get a lightsaber. Da-da-da-da, lightsaber. So I'm gonna get started. I have to move Winston. I have to kick him off. He's gonna be grumpy. He's gonna be the cutest little guy. I do have to move him. Hi. Okay. You can sit, but you just have to go behind me, okay? Yeah. And then I'll pull up like this. You'll be right there. Okay. That's good enough. Okay, so diving in right away, I'm going to be starting with my gray yarn. I'm going to start with just a slip knot here, and that little loop is where you're going to enter your hook. Boop, bop. So I'll do that one more time actually. So start with your string, you cross your string over, boop, to make kind of this X shape. So this is one end, this is the free end, this is the end connected to the skein, and you flip it to make that X. Through that X, I'm going to take my two little fingers and grab the free end right here, while also still holding on to it so it doesn't pull all the way through, but I'm just going to pull up, and ta-da, it makes a nice little loop. And then you put your hook in it and then you tighten it. I'm going to do that again, loop-de-loop, pull, hook through, tighten. I'm going to chain 2, so hook it over, chain 2. And that's going to give me 2 stitches, and then in that first stitch I'm just going to insert my hook, and I'm going to do 8 stitches in the first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, I'll pull more yarn out, 4, 5, 6, and then as I'm going, I'm tightening it to make sure there's no gaping hole in the center. And at any point of when you're creating this first initial circle, you can keep tightening, unless you're working with a more fragile yarn. You're going to want to be careful of how many times you tighten. Bernat is pretty durable when you tighten and stitch, so it doesn't shed as easily as other yarn. In fact, this one doesn't really shed at all, which is really good. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I lost count. I have 7 stitches. I need 1 more stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And once I have that 8, I'm going to start with increases. And so if you have a little trouble getting into your first stitch, because it's always a little tight, I take a needle and I just stick it through that stitch and I loosen it up a little bit. And then voila, that helps me get inside my stitch so I know where I'm at. And then from there, I'm just going to do increases, and increases are 2 single crochet in the same stitch. So that was 1, I go in the same stitch and I crochet 2. And that's just going to be adding a stitch. So there is math in crochet, unfortunately. So increases, you're just adding stitches into the row to expand, the circle so it gets bigger, 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 round and round and round. And then when you're at a point where you want to decrease, it's the opposite effect. So you're actually combining 2 stitches into one to make it smaller and smaller, smaller, as small as you need. So I'm just going to keep doing my increases all the way around until I am at 16 stitches, because 8 plus 8 is 16, and I added 1 stitch into each stitch, and since I already had 8, I'm adding 8 more. That's how math works. One more increase, 1, 2, and then at that 16 mark. And if I'm measuring my fold, it fits perfect. It fits perfect. It fits within that little dot there, so I'm going to start just doing rounds. As you can see in this example, I did 1 row or 1 or 2 rows of the gray, and then I switched to black and I did stripes instead. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be adding some of these black rectangles up the side here for this one that we're working on, to try to get a little different handle I don't know if you are a Star Wars fan or if you just really wanted to make a lightsaber, but there are different handles in the Star Wars universe. So this is not, I don't even think this is one. This is just something I put together. So yes, you don't have to do this, but you can use a stitch marker to kind of mark your place to see, so you don't have to continuously count. So that was just my first row, so I'm going to be doing one more row of the gray. Alright, so I made it back to my stitch marker point, so I went all the way around, so that is one row of 16. I'm just going to double check that it still fits my little tube, and it does. So this, as I work my way up, it's going to start forming around the tube, and I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to start filling the bottom with polyfill, and I'm going to insert this in. I'm going to do one more round of the gray, so I'm just going to go back around 16 stitches again until I hit my stitch marker. I hit it all the way back around, so that's 2 rows. So if you compare it to my other one, that is where we would do the color change to get that black line. However, I'm going to keep going, and this is technically where the stitch marker is. That's technically the back of my project, or so I'm thinking. So where the stitch marker is. So I want this little box here to be on the front. So if I'm thinking about where I want to put my other boxes, I'm going to do one more row until I get about a little past the halfway point, and then I'm going to start prepping my 2 color boxes that I want to add on. Because if you look here, there is some boxes and you whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to take my black, which I'm going to be honest is a bit of a mess right now. It's a nightmare. If I can find my end, 3 stitches of black, 1 stitch of gray, and then 3 stitches of black. So that's going to be my 7 stitches that I'm going to make up. So I'm going to bring back my black here, do the color change again, and then it's going to do 1, 2, 3, give me my gray, don't finish that stitch, color change, 1 gray, don't finish that stitch, move back to the black, color change, 1, 2, and 3, and then grab your gray and finish that last stitch with the gray, do 1 more single crochet, and you should be back at your stitch marker here. So, and that's what that's going to look like. It's just going to look like 2 little dots, and then as we start working our rows up, we're going to be adding more black to those stitches to make them look like the little triangles here. So, I'm going to go around again, and then just every time I hit those black stitches, I'm just going to color switch over to black, and keep going for, we'll see how many rows. I'm thinking like maybe 4 or 5 more rows after the initial row. So already that's kind of building up those rectangles, and it's actually a lot longer than I thought after just 2 rows, so I'm gonna do 2 more rows quick and see how that looks. After 1 more row, so I'm going to do 1 more row. triangles that we're moving up with. Comparing it to my other one, it looks like I went one more on the other one, or on the base button. So I'm going to be doing one more row, and then I'm going to add some of these lines to break up these rectangles, and then add my button as well. So let's see how that looks. That's what we have so far. So you can see the color changes, and then I'm just going to test how this fits in here. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Oh, pretty firm. So now I'm just going to do a full round of gray. And now they actually look like rectangles in your project, so that's a win for us. One more round of gray, add a row of black, and then another row of gray, and then I think I'm going to make my button from there. So this is how it's looking. So that's obviously going to be off to the side. I'm going to do one more row of gray, and then I'm going to dive into making my button. And that's what it's looking like now. I'm just gonna cut off some of the same gray that I'm using. And I'm going to just sew little lines. There we go. That looks a little better. Like, they look kind of like mechanical-y. Like, my button that I make with these, it's pretty similar to the rectangles that we just made. However, instead of adding the lines, I'm going to be adding a red bobble stitch. So about 4 stitches before the first triangle on the other side is where I'm going to start my button. So I'm going to take that loop out of the last stitch that I made so I can easily color change to my black. So I'm leaving that loop on. I'm gonna grab the end of my black, loop it in for the color change, and then same as before, I'm going to be doing 3 black stitches. 1, 2, 3. Color change back to gray over on that last stitch. So the button has 5 rows in it, and the middle one has the button in it. So I'm going to do my second round. So since there's 3 stitches, it's gonna go black, bobble, black. So I just have that prepped on the side. So I'm gonna continue doing my stitches. 1 black stitch. Don't finish out my black stitch. I'm going to color change to red. So now I'm going to be, you do a bobble stitch in the red. So I wrap my hook before, I stick it in, wrap it up. Bobble stitch is basically just unfinished double crochet in US terms. So instead of finishing my stitch, I'm just going to keep adding loops onto my hook. So I'm going to wrap it, stick it in, wrap it again, pull it out, wrap it again, pull it through 2 loops, and then don't finish that out, wrap it again, put it in the same stitch, and I'm just going to keep doing this until I have 6 loops on my hook. So wrap it one more time, wrap it through, pull it through 2 loops, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on my hook. And then I usually finish it out, you would usually finish out the bobble stitch in the same stitch. However, since I have to color change right away to black, I'm going to finish that out, add the black onto my hook, pull it all through all 6 stitches, finish out that last black stitch, add the gray, color change back to the gray, and now you're not going to use the red anymore for this one, so you can go ahead and cut that red off, tie it to another loose end to secure it. I'm just going to tie it to the other end of my red, so that creates kind of like a knot on the inside of my project, so that bobble stitch doesn't get pulled out. And then I'm just going to keep going. Different than this one, still similar vibe, different handle choice. So this is raised, it kind of separates the actual lightsaber from the handle a little bit. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So working in the front loop only of this next row, I'm just going to half double crochet. So I wrap my hook, stick it in the front loop only, wrap it, pull it through. So you pull through all 3 stitches on a half double crochet. Okay, so that gave us our little handle, our little brim here. I'm going to find that last stitch, or that first stitch where we entered, or where we worked in the front stitch only. So if you look on the inside there, you can kind of see there's like a line that goes around. And if you can actually fold your project to see that a little bit better, so that circle here, that is the back loop that we did not work in. So now I'm just going to find that first stitch, stick it in that back loop, and then add my color from there. So and then I just add my color here. I just rope it along the hook like I did before and pull it through into a slip knot or slip stitch right there. And then all the way around, I just do single crochets of my color. So 16 single crochets in the back loop of the previous round. One more check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have 16 rows. I just finished the first row of my color. So yeah, making great progress on our lightsaber. I forgot to mention at the beginning of your color, after your first initial back loop of color, you are going to do 6 single crochet and then a decrease 2 times. So that's going to decrease the circle from 16 stitches around to 14, and that's going to give a little bit of a difference between the thickness of the handle compared to the lightweight laser focus of the light sword. Forgot to mention that, very important part. As you can see, I also forgot to do it at the beginning because it's getting kind of chunky. So I'm going to actually frog all that, RIP, and redo it so you can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like when it's wrong. This is what it looks like a little better. You can see that it's a little bit smaller than the handle. That really adds another definition to the thickness of the rim that we added. And so it's starting to look more like a lightsaber, less like a just big chongus thing, you know? So the 2 decreases in the second row of green really adds to the final product. I'm just gonna keep going and check back in with you in a bit. As you can see, it's kind of getting long already, so it's kind of like flopping all over as I'm working on it. And working towards the top of the lightsaber, let me tell you, it's hard. It's a labor of love. It's an arm workout. We're gonna get ripped. So this is where I'm at so far. We're getting there. We're getting there. Very slowly but surely. I'm just gonna be crocheting right here, okay? So I'm at about row 15 right now. So I have about 35 left, but I'm going to insert this little guy in here and get him all snug. All right, so here he's in. Again, the polyfill's on the bottom a little bit, so it's a little squishy, and then you start to feel the foam up top a little bit. And then the foam from there goes all the way up. So now I have that much left to cover. So I'm just gonna keep on going. Oh, I got distracted, but I'm back. Now I'm gonna keep going. This is a Walter. He's my other buddy. He has problems. So I'm gonna do like 2 or 3 more rows, and then I'm going to decrease 2 more times to bring the count down to 12 in a row. Cool to you guys. I just want you all to have your own lightsaber. And then we'll all meet in the park and we'll have a tournament. And we'll dress up. And it'll be fun. Now I'm going to decrease. So I'm going to do 514 now. I'm going to decrease to 12. I'm going to do I'm going to do 5 single crochet and 1 decrease. And I'm going to do that pattern twice. Alright, so I did 2 decreases around, and that is going to bring the total around to 12. And the reason I'm pulling on it like that is because it stretches the yarn over the tube a little more, so I can kind of see where I'm at. Once I get up here, like maybe to the top of it, I'm going to start stuffing it and put the dowel in, because right now this is what's going to happen. Pretty floppy lightsaber, won't hold up to the silk floors. I'm actually going to start stuffing it now because my stick isn't long enough to reach all the way down here. So I'm just going to start stuffing the inside foam with some stuffing. Take the end of my little dowel. I'm just gonna shove it down. I'm gonna keep doing that until I'm stuffed up. And then from here, I just keep stuffing the top. My dowel ends at about right here, so pretty secure. At the tippy top, I'm going to start stuffing this bad boy the rest of the way. And the dowels that I use usually come in a pack, so even though I stuck half of one in here, I have a little one. I would recommend getting one or using something similar just so you can really stuff up the top of your lightsaber, because the dowel is not going to reach the top. Unless you wanted to, you can always get bigger dowels, but my dowel doesn't reach the top. And so I like having a thick layer of polyfill at the top to kind of keep it sturdy. It won't bend as easily. Like, it's still going to bend a little bit because it doesn't have that dowel to keep it secure, but it won't bend as easily if you really shove it full with polyfill. So my dowel is actually pretty short. It ended down here. So I'm actually going to try to skip this one in too. And then try to move some of this. Alright. Now we're gonna do, I just had to fix the amount of stuffing that was in here and fix how the dowel is lined up to make it look more even as the total product. So now we're just going to do a round of decreases at the end. So there's going to be 6 decreases. Okay, so now I have 6 done at the top. I am going to go ahead and snip my green yarn off, and I'm leaving a tail to sew the top up. I'm going to put the tiniest amount of fluff at the top here to just finish it off, finish off the row we just did, because it gets kind of squishy at the top without any padding or anything there. There we go. And then I'm going to take my needle and stick it through the front loops of all the stitches all the way around, front loop, front loop. And as you're making your way around, you can go ahead and tighten, and that's going to tighten the top of it up. And that's how you finish off the lightsaber. And then last but not least, you're just going to take that needle, stick it down into the project, so that finishes off that top. Now you have this little tail, and what I like to do is I just like to kind of string it through the project. And then once I get to a certain point within the project, I go ahead and just stuff that tail right in. And that's gonna blend with the polyfill and the other stitches that are in there. So it's gonna go away, and there you have it. Your lightsaber is complete. Bam, bam. And now the green is a little bit bigger than the red. And a little bit more lumpy, but that's okay. All right, there you have it. How to make your own laser sword, Star Wars style. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'll have the printed pattern available. Happy crafting. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what else you'd like to see. Otherwise, it's Taylor with Happy Go signing off. Thanks.